Good morning, and welcome to the 2025 MORPC State of the Region. I'm Rolanda Hampton, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Senior Director of Communications and Engagement. In the spirit of our theme, Growing Stronger Together, Building a Thriving Region, we have gathered here to explore how collaboration shapes our future. At MORPC, we work alongside local governments, businesses, and community partners to advance transformative initiatives that strengthen our region. Together, we are shaping communities, fostering sustainability, and building opportunities for generations. To kick things off, let's begin with a video showcasing the impact of our collective efforts.
MORPC is the place where Central Ohio comes together to plan for its future. We really believe in sitting down, community by community, and hearing what's going on, and then taking that back and tackling regional issues with it.
The MORPC membership is a very diverse entity. There are villages and townships and cities, and so there is a great diversity in the voices in the room.
When we think about things like infrastructure or transportation, the plans that we have in place right now, transit, finishing our road network, bringing passenger rail. Those are investments we can make to get ready for that future, but also improve the quality of life for the people that live here.
We look at the tools that we have to deliver the best product to the individual member needs.
One of the biggest ways MORPC helps our most vulnerable families and neighbors is through our home repair and weatherization programs. We help keep them safe in their homes, help improve their homes, reduce their energy bills, and help the climate by reducing their energy impact.
Our mission is to deliver on a prosperous and opportunistic economy. And in order to do that, we are going to have fantastic partners in the business community because they're the ones that are going to ultimately drive that investment.
Sustainability is at the core of MORPC's work. Things like air quality, water resources, energy.
And through the relationships we have with our congressional delegation, we've had the opportunity to share our story. To know that more than 1 in 5 Ohioans call the MORPC 15-county region home is powerful. That is a huge responsibility for us to know the magnitude of individuals in our state that rely on the work that we do to improve their daily lives as it relates to transportation, environmental sustainability, air quality, and a host of other items.
We want to ensure that the region has what it needs to accommodate that growth, but at the same time solve those long-standing challenges that we have to become a better place and a higher quality of life.
Good morning and welcome to the 2025 State of the Region. I'm William Murdoch, the Executive Director of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. You know our friends call us MORPC, and it is so inspiring to be here with so many friends from all over Central Ohio, leaders, partners, community members. And today, I'm excited for the program we have for you. We have Bruce Katz, who has bold ideas for community leaders. We're going to celebrate regional leadership and share efforts that are shaping the future of Central Ohio. But we can't do any of this without your support. It also takes a lot of hard work, and I am so grateful for our board and committee members who are here, and there are many, the elected officials in the audience, and of course, MORPC's team of creative and dedicated professionals. And I'm also really grateful for the support from our sponsors, led by our premier sponsor, the Columbus Realtors, and all of those you see on the screen. Let's give all of these folks a big round of applause. Growing Stronger Together is more than just our theme. It is about the power of choice. Choice in where we live, how we move, how we build our future. Central Ohio is projected to add over 700,000 people by 2050. But growth alone isn't the goal. We have a choice in what happens. Yes, growth brings challenges, but it also brings opportunities to expand housing, improve transportation, and strengthen our communities. And I think that our success will be measured by the answer to this question. Can we grow better as we grow bigger? Success won't be the work of one person or one community. It will take all of us, and that's why you have a MORPC. MORPC is Central Ohio working together. Partners from rural hometowns, growing suburbs, the heart of the city. We are 90 communities strong. And our strategic framework is what guides and drives our call to public service. We are creating an environment for prosperity, helping so many communities take action. We're driving investment, looking for funding and policies to secure infrastructure. We also build value for our member communities with data, best practices, and an ROI statement every year. And we pay it forward because we believe in public service. Each year, we connect talent to 50 internships and create dozens of educational leadership opportunities for community officials. Our work, it's about collaboration, action, and focusing on the future. Simply put, it's about growing stronger together. Priorities like transportation, housing, development, these are all interconnected. And you should know there is real investment and bold actions that are happening right now in Central Ohio. I want to start with transportation. There are future-forward public-private collaborations underway that expand everybody's choices in transportation and better connect people to jobs and services. And at MORPC, we like to call these the big moves. Transit, trains, trails, and more. Projects that will shape how we move around Central Ohio. First, we are a proud partner in the $8 billion Linkus Initiative. Thanks to voter support for CODA last fall, the improvements start this year. This will transform our options in Central Ohio with more and better transit, expanded service, and Linkus will help create safer, more walkable communities with 500 miles of new sidewalks and trails. And this builds on our Central Ohio Greenways vision, which links people to nature and transportation and improves quality of life. Our goal is 1,000 miles of trails around the region for recreation, health. This is an easy choice. It connects every neighborhood to parks, schools, main streets, and downtown Columbus alike. We also know that trails are an economic investment strategy, and we've a number of trail towns here, and we're helping them attract visitors and support local businesses. And Central Ohio wants trains. Over 85% support bringing passenger rail back to Columbus for the first time in 45 years. And this is backed by strong support from leaders, businesses, and communities. And we can applaud for passenger rail. Let's do that. We are going to make this happen. And I tell you what, we know that rail creates economic growth. It connects people to jobs, sports, each other. Imagine convenient options to Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and more. And if you want to add in that brand new $2 billion airport terminal, very soon Central Ohio could have significantly better travel options to other regions. And that's not all. MORPC plans for transportation with rural and urban communities to improve our roads and highways and make them safer. Our Metropolitan Transportation Plan is a vision for our future, $35 billion in 25 years. Every one of these big moves in transportation is about creating abundant options for everyone to move around Central Ohio. I just want you to imagine this. In just a few years, transit when and where you need it, a new airport, train service to other regions, better, safer roads, and hundreds more miles of sidewalks and trails. Now that's growing better and stronger as we grow bigger, and this is happening. You can clap for that. So economic development and housing are just as critical at this time, and you might even say that the biggest move would be to meet the urgent need for over 200,000 homes in our region. If you look at market data, it shows rising costs and limited options. It's hard for residents to find homes that they want. This makes us less economically competitive with other regions too. So to better take action, we need to hear directly from the people who live in every corner of the region, especially those who can't attend a public meeting due to work or family needs. And that's why we've launched our Leaders Listen survey to gather insights from all 15 counties. Our most recent survey focuses on economic concerns, and this is on everyone's mind. The results were clear. Housing affordability is the top economic issue. 73% said housing costs are too high. Many are saying they spend more than 30% of their income on housing. And when asked what would strengthen the economy the most, More than half said increasing the supply of housing people can afford, and it ranked higher than any other economic development need right now. These results are not a surprise, but they resonate so strongly with me because our neighbors are telling us that they expect their leaders, communities, businesses alike, to cut through the status quo and to work together to deliver concrete results on housing. And these survey results also agree with market data. To grow better, it's a priority to create more homes at all levels, housing our families can afford today, better options for every phase of our lives, and more housing for the growth ahead. There is good news, though. Many efforts are underway around our region, including a new regional housing coalition that is going to bring together the public and private sectors to make housing more abundant. And I don't have to tell this room, community after community after community is pursuing housing by updating their zoning codes, pursuing incentives, working with developers, listening and surveying their community. There's a lot of hard work happening and so much more. And MORPC's own work in housing isn't gathering dust. We've taken real actions on the 100 market-based solutions from the 2020 Regional Housing Strategy, and I want you to get this, and I'm so proud of my team. Since 2020, we have improved over 2,000 homes. We've helped 24 communities with technical assistance and 2 major state policy wins. We launched a community-based planning assistance program, which is helping communities with extra support on housing and modernizing zoning. We provide better data, better tools for local leaders, and our MORPC team delivers direct services to help families and older adults stay in their home with repair, weatherization, and lead abatement. And we know that every community has unique housing challenges, so we now can tailor solutions to your community's needs. Just ask Westerville, where we co-created a new home repair program with them. Housing and transportation are part of a larger vision, making growth work for us. And that vision has momentum. Intel, Honda, LG, and many more have chosen our region, creating thousands of jobs, billions of dollars in investment. And MORPC's here to help too. We're leveraging these investments, working with all of our partners like One Columbus and all of you to unlock funds through our Economic Development District. And we've got a comprehensive economic development strategy that's a prosperity blueprint for innovation, job creation, and resilience. But prosperity is not only about the economy, it's also about the quality of our environment. And that's why we're working with the partners at the state of Ohio to finalize a regional water study this month to ensure clean, reliable water for the future. And that's why we're expanding air sensors in neighborhood after neighborhood, giving real-time data on air pollution that empowers residents to protect their own health. The Leaders Listen survey reinforces all of this. Housing, jobs, environment, infrastructure, they're all connected, and all these needs are urgent right now. If you want to dig deeper, we're going to release all the findings online today, but I want to give you a couple more takeaways. The survey says that affordable childcare is a major barrier to our growth, limiting job access for so many, especially working parents. People want more support for small businesses, infrastructure, and solutions that make Central Ohio more livable for everybody. And the last one, residents in Central Ohio are optimistic about the future of our region. More than half feel positive about job opportunities and economic growth. And you know what? I'm optimistic too. With the leaders and the talent that is in this room, I bet on our region's future. Central Ohio has momentum, and we can make this growth work for us, but we can't take it for granted. So here's my closing advice. Find motivation to do more from these survey results. Be inspired by your neighbor's good work and the excitement of these big moves. I want you to take really good notes from Bruce Katz today. He's going to talk about how we can lean forward together as a region. And know that you can rely on MORPC and our team to be there to help. We are humbled to work alongside you. We are grateful for your leadership and partnership in your communities and region-wide. And when we do all of this, we will build that stronger region, one that grows better as it grows bigger. Thank you. So I've said it once, I'll say it again. At MORPC, we believe in public service. Every summer, we pay it forward by connecting over 50 college students to paid internships in communities across Central Ohio. This year, we had 600 students apply for this, but we couldn't place them. you could make a difference to a young person and a community who could use the help. We're a nonprofit. If you could consider making a donation using the QR code, we will help place additional students this year. I began my career as an intern, like many of the people in this room, at Gehanna. It kindled my love for public service. I want to make sure we can help more students have that chance. And speaking of public service, I'd like to welcome to the stage a great friend to MORPC and the region as our chair and mayor of Dublin, Chris Ambrose-Groom, comes to the stage. Let's welcome Mayor.
Well, good afternoon. I am Chris Ambrose-Groom, Mayor of the City of Dublin. My people are at tables 16 and 17. Thank you so much. I've got a great privilege of working with a fantastic group of people. It has been an honor to serve as chair of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission and work alongside such a talented group of leaders committed to driving smart, sustainable growth and making our communities competitive places to live, to work, and to invest. The progress we've made reflects our strength of our partnerships and our shared focus on long-term economic development success. Today, we have the privilege from hearing from Bruce Katz, a nationally recognized expert in urban development and the co-author of The New Localism and the Metropolitan Revolution. Bruce's expertise in economic development, in governance, and the role of local communities in driving growth is more relevant today than ever. As our cities and regions face new challenges and opportunities, his insights will help us refine our strategies and position Central Ohio for continued success. Please join me in giving a very warm MORPC welcome to Bruce Katz.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, William, and the whole MORPC staff, and also Kenny McDonald, who took me on a bit of a tour yesterday and is going to take me on a further tour today. So I've been coming to this region since I was a kid. My sister went to Ohio State, and she said to me at one point, "You want to see a football game?" And this is in the late 70s, okay? So I said, yeah, okay, maybe, you know. Archie Griffin was playing. Okay, so I'm already like telling you my age. I had never seen anything like a college football game, right? I mean, we had the Knicks, we had the Jets, we had the Mets, we had the Rangers. Ohio State's like on a whole nother level, okay? So I've been coming here since then. And this is a radically different place than even 10 years ago. William talked about this amazing progress you've made on transportation, on transit, on trails, on so many things that metropolitan planning organizations do. But your business and civic leadership have attracted to this place, in close collaboration with Ohio State, the next generation of industry. Semiconductors, gene and cell therapy, batteries. I mean, you are crushing it, right? I mean, Columbus sits with Nashville and Phoenix and Denver and Austin as a major American metropolis that is really growing with next century industry. So you're really superb at all this. And let me just say the focus of my talk today, you're going to need all this market relevance. You're going to need the social cohesion you have in this room that crosses jurisdictions, that crosses parties, right? That crosses people from very different walks of life. You're going to need all of that to navigate through this period because we're living through an exceptional time. There's really no precedent for what is sort of with President Trump, out of the box, across the board set of actions. I tried to find some modern historic analogy for that. Went back to when President Reagan came in 1981. Remember David Stockman, the cuts of that period? Remember Newt Gingrich coming in 94, 95, the rescissions of that year, the budget deal in 97 with President Clinton. You know, frankly, none of that really describes what's happening today. So I had to go to a cinematic reference. Many of people in the room probably have seen the first film of The Godfather, right? There's a scene where Al Pacino, Michael Corleone, turns to his half-brother, Tom Hagen, played by Robert Duvall, and says, "I've got some news for you. You're no longer going to be the family consigliere. You're going to be our lawyer in Vegas." And he says, "Look, you're just not a wartime consigliere, and things are going to get rough." Well, things are getting real rough right now. And my message to you, and I'll go through some of the data, is that cities and metros, with true collaboration, this moniker you have of Grow Stronger Together is real here in Central Ohio. You're going to have to steel yourself to get through this with focus and discipline and judgment and toughness. And I think you can do it because at the end of the day, cities and metropolitan areas are the organizing units of our economy, and they are networks of institutions, intermediaries, universities, corporations, everything that makes up a prosperous place. So there's not going to be one consigliere, though Jason Hall just moved here from St. Louis to work with Kenny at One Columbus and Columbus Partners. So there's not going to be one. There's going to be a network, right? And you're going to have to work together to mitigate whatever harm is happening, to amplify opportunities, and then at the end of all this, and this will be the main focus, you're going to have to figure out how to defederalize the design, delivery, and finance of housing, transportation, childcare, workforce, because what's going on in this country right now is essentially a devolution of revolution. They're pushing responsibilities down to states and localities, and only in the US do we have the capacity and the capabilities to basically take this on. But make no mistake, you're now the adults in the room. You're in charge. At the end of all this, you're going to have to sort it out. Okay, so what's happening? Let me zoom back and just talk about big picture, because what's happening in the economy is we are simultaneously reshoring, remilitarizing, and reasserting our dominance on the critical technologies that will shape the next global economy. And you're at the center of it, right? With Intel and Anduril and all these major companies, right? So what's happened first and foremost, the world's a dangerous place. We are in geopolitical conflict. It's not a hot conflict yet with China, but it's a dangerous place. And we need to make sure that we reshore the technologies and the capacity to meet this threat. Second, the pandemic taught us that supply chains were too elongated across the world, right? So life-saving pharmaceuticals, critical components of industry, we were reliant more and more on adversaries to deliver these things. No more. Third, technologies are accelerating. Artificial intelligence, robotics, gene and cell therapy, genomics, quantum computing. The list goes on and on. And these are technologies that are going to permeate all sectors of our economy. They're going to change the world of work. And we do need to dominate those in the United States. And last is energy. Energy is seeing a seismic growth in demand. And we're going to have to figure out how to deliver energy through multiple sources, whether it's natural gas, whether it's nuclear, whether it's renewables, to meet this. These are major macro forces, right? And they are going to reshape our economy. And frankly, and it's hard to hear this because there's so much noise in our society right now. But actually, there's a convergence between political parties that is not well understood. If you think about Trump 1.0, if you think about President Biden, if you think about President Trump 2.0, actually across political parties, there is an understanding and there is a commitment to reshore and remilitarize and reassert our dominance on technologies. We have different means for going about that, radically different means. But with regard to support for the military budget, there's consistency, there's constancy. And we need to remember that we probably agree on more things than we disagree. There are differences of approaches here which are really critical. President Biden used the CHIPS Act, subsidies, to basically build semiconductors in the United States. President Trump is focusing on tariffs, right? These are radically different views of how to approach this. You look at NIH or NSF support. You look at the Inflation Reduction Act. You look at bipartisan infrastructure or American Rescue Plan. There are different approaches, but at the end of the day, we're trying to build a prosperous country. And it's really clear that we keep our eye on the ball about this different kind of economy we're trying to build, because, second big point, these macro forces have big effect on metropolitan areas, huge effects. If you think about Silicon Valley and the rise of Silicon Valley, right, that is because of World War II and Cold War science. If you think about what happened to this state, right, 88 counties, 70 counties, basically still struggling, that's because of deindustrialization, which to some extent we're trying to rebalance right now. Macro forces have big effects on metropolitan areas. We're already seeing that in the country. We're seeing places that have an enormous military presence, Hampton Roads with nuclear subs, St. Louis with Boeing Aerospace, Dayton, right? Wright-Patt, Air Force Research Lab. Those places are beginning to find new value because of the critical role they play in national security. With regard to semiconductors, you're at the epicenter of this, with Phoenix, with Syracuse, with many others. So we're already beginning to see a reshuffling of the hierarchy of American cities and metros. For a long time, it was all about the coast, right? San Francisco, Seattle, Boston, New York, Washington. Now it's about the heartland. It's about the Midwest. It's about the Southeast. It's about the Southwest. We're growing back large numbers of major metros that are reindustrializing and reshoring. It's also around micro districts, innovation districts, because at the end of the day, if you're going to innovate around all these things, it's not going to happen in siloed parks, research parks, or just spread out. It's going to be happening in very congregated, concentrated places. You see that with Ohio State. You see them building out a world-class innovation district probably less than 2 miles from where we're sitting today, right? So there is enormous positive momentum in this country towards a different growth model. But as we cut back and as we scale back, we are beginning to see the potential effects of all this, right? We're beginning to see cities and counties and hospitals and universities and nonprofit providers and housing developers basically come to the conclusion we're not sure that we can rely on federal resources the way we've done in the past. And therefore, we may, and it's still a work in progress, may need to adapt very quickly to a radically different policy environment and investment environment coming from our national government. We have banks, we have capital providers basically saying, we're not sure how to underwrite housing deals right now. I mean, how positive are we that tax incentives that we've relied on in the past, low-income housing tax credit in particular, or even revenue bonds, right, that are tax exempt, how clear are we that this is going to survive? So the list goes on and on. Every sector of our economy and our society, every jurisdiction in our major metropolitan areas and regions are affected by what's happening right now in Washington. And so here are my basic sets of advice and recommendations for what not just MORPC does, but MORPC as a true collaborative of jurisdictions in concert with business, university, and other leaders do to basically navigate this volatile period. Number one, conduct a stress test. Number one, understand what is happening across all these multiple dimensions. At the end of the day, you just can't put your head in the sand and say, okay, whatever happens, happens. We'll continue to grow stronger together. You need to know with specificity, with precision, with granularity, what is going on right now, right? As the heart, as the economic platform of the state of Ohio. In New York City, about a week after the election, the comptroller basically did an accounting. And this is conservative numbers. New York City receives about $100 billion a year from the federal government. Absent what they get, the universities get, absent what procurement, the contracting of federal agencies have. $100 billion, $54 billion, Medicare, Medicaid, affordable care. $33 billion, Social Security, SSI, supplemental nutrition. Okay, Medicaid, supplemental nutrition are on the chopping block. About $8 billion goes directly to the Department of Education, Department of Housing and Preservation. About $5.5 billion goes to the New York City Housing Authority, their public hospital system, and the City University of New York. They are doing the math. They are basically saying, we're going to have to adjust to this. We're not entirely sure how, but we need to know the first order effect, if funding gets scaled back, the second order effect on tax revenues, and the third order effect on the quality and fabric of our neighborhoods. You got to do a stress test. This is coming. I mean, they're making no secret about it. They're being fairly transparent about it. You need to do a stress test. Second, that's the bad news. Good news. Good news is in the context of reshoring, remilitarizing, and reasserting our dominance on critical technologies, you are a powerful platform. Central Ohio is one of a network of several dozen metropolitan areas in the United States that are going to determine the next American economy, and as part of that, the next global economy, because of how much influence we have. Okay, well, you need to figure out, where do you fit in all this? You've already had this updrift around semiconductors. Still need to work out CHIPS funding, et cetera, with Intel, critical. You've already basically positioned yourself as a major player in gene and cell therapy, right? That's going to implicate NIH, National Institutes of Health. You've already played a big role with Honda and LG around batteries and electrification. Okay, that's basically not on the chopping block necessarily, but will be affected by decisions around Inflation Reduction Act, most of which were tax incentives. You got to figure out where you stand, and because of Anderl coming here, defense spending and your role in what we used to call, President Eisenhower called, the military-industrial complex is critical. So you need essentially a diagnostic, up to date. Where do you fit in the next American economy? And it's not just about industry and innovation and infrastructure, all three of which you're damn good at. You got to think about housing, and William mentioned it. Housing in many respects is your Achilles heel. You are underbuilding as you're overperforming on the economy, right? And we are going to see housing scale back at the federal level, which means, again, you're in charge. Whether it's land, whether it's construction innovation, whether it's capital innovation, whether it's regulation, zoning, land use, building codes, whether it's governance across jurisdictions, you're in charge. If you've got to build 10,000 units a year or 5,000 units a year, you've got to figure out how you're going to make the numbers work. It's a numbers game. It's a new math if the feds begin to scale back. Last bit. All of this is going to require a level of radical collaboration and, frankly, institutional reform if we're going to navigate through this period, right? Collaboration is one of those words. It's just like an easy word. It makes you feel good. We're working together, right? We're playing well together. This is the sandbox rules, right? It is really hard, right? It is really hard because the noise of partisanship and the noise of division and the noise of fragmentation permeate our culture. I mean, that's what we listen to on a day-to-day basis, however we get our news. whether it's through traditional media or whether it's through social media. You've got to hold strong together, and you've got to collaborate to compete, and you've got to collaborate to deal with the headwinds coming, whether they're market or whether they're political, and to deal with issues like housing or transportation or workforce or childcare, which again, more and more you're going to be in charge of. This may require you to rethink the kinds of institutions and intermediaries you have. I'll just give you one example. City of Atlanta, trying to build 20,000 units over 8 years, basically made the decision, we need to finally integrate, unify all the public assets that the public sector owns. City government, county government, school districts, public housing agencies, transit agencies, public utilities, right? We're gonna put them all under one roof. We're gonna call it the Atlanta Urban Development Corporation. We're gonna give them powers and resources and capital from philanthropy and from corporations, and we're gonna get those units built, right? You may need to do that. You may need to say, we don't have all the tools in the toolbox today. We don't have the right mix of institutions, and we don't have the capital stack, right? Between debt, between equity, between philanthropy, between public sources to get this stuff done. So bottom line, going back to The Godfather, right? And I know there's a lot of, we're divided by many things. We're generally divided. Was Godfather 1 better than Godfather 2? But I'm sticking to Godfather 1, okay? You need to have a wartime consigliere. You need to think about a network of people, not just institutions and intermediaries and universities, and a network of people who understand first and foremost, where are we getting hit? Second, where can we make progress? You are one of the great American metropolitan economies. Ipso facto, you are the great global metropolitan economies. And third, how are we going to collaborate? How are you really going to grow strong together with all this noise coming in on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour, week-by-week basis? You can do this. You can do this, and you can be a shining light for the country. Thank you very much.
Well, we have a few minutes to follow up on that. And Bruce, I know that there's so much that we want to talk about. You mentioned stress test. If any of you are stressed, dessert on the table is really good. I'm just going to tell you. So Bruce, you mentioned the connection to the Columbus region, your sister. You've been here a lot through the years. What really are you seeing right now? You've had this tour of the region yesterday. What really makes it stand out as being different than what you remember?
I mean, I think, just starting with my sister, by the way, when she went to college, we were not talking to each other, but that's okay. It's all been solved. Ohio State is like a different university. I mean, like a really different university today than it was even 20 years ago. A lot of universities in the United States are like football teams with a university or basketball teams with a university. This place is like a research and innovation hub that is driving industrial growth that is next generation. It is now playing with the Purdue's, not just the Purdue's and the University of Michigan and the Big Ten, it's playing with the Carnegie Mellons and the Georgia Techs and the MITs and the Stanfords. Ohio State is a really different university right now. And Daniel Patrick Moynihan once said, if you want a great city, build a university and wait 200 years. He was thinking about Harvard. I mean, we're now seeing the cycles go really fast. So Ohio State is an incredible asset. And by the way, it's right here. Most of these other land-grant universities from the 19th century are not in the middle of major cities. So part of your success is where Ohio State is concentrated and their ability over the last 15 or 20 years to become this research innovation engine. The other part is you've got great neighborhoods. Cities in the end are just networks of neighborhoods. I mean, when I first started going to Columbus after, my sister was in school and, came to Short North, came to Germanville. I mean, this is just a remarkable place, right? For whatever reason, you were able to maintain historic architecture, just compact, walkable, livable, all the stuff people talk about. You have it both close to the core and then throughout the greater city and through the counties. And you've got great municipalities and townships all across the region. So quality of life, great innovation engine, playing out an industry, and now you're doing the infrastructure piece to keep everyone moving.
Yeah, well, and I know you've heard us talk, but there's so much more that this region wants to do for quality of life and to solve these problems. We talked a little bit about advanced manufacturing and defense. And so when we look around the room, there are a lot of communities that are asking themselves the question, how do we take advantage of this? How do we get ready for this? What is your advice on how the communities can really lean into the LGs and the Hondas and the Intels?
Yeah, I think part of it relates to the innovation platform that Ohio, what do these industries need? They need skilled workers, they need engineers, they need R&D, they need applied, both basic science and applied R&D. In the defense sector, what you think about is, okay, who are the places with the great military bases, who have production facilities, who have R&D labs? You're very close to Dayton, okay? You're very close. And therefore, with the Anduril win, you've basically put your stake not with the sort of legacy prime contractors in the defense industry, the Boeings, the General Dynamics, the Raytheons, et cetera. You're with the next generation of defense tech innovation and defense production. And really interesting that it came to Columbus, right? I mean, I spent a lot of my time around the country. There's a lot of people really pissed off at you, by the way. They got Anduril. What is going on, right?
Is this why we need a wartime concierge?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You got Pittsburgh coming at you.
Right.
You got some fierce adversaries within the country. But you sent a signal that you are going to be part of the next generation of American industry, defense and civilian. And you're going to do what it takes to help these companies continue to grow and prosper. Because yes, they need all the talent, which you have, they also need the housing. They need the housing. And frankly, some of these are leaving California because of the radical mismatch between supply and demand in California. Do not get to that place. Do not send a signal to both US companies and global companies, come here and the price of housing is going like that because you're not keeping pace with building. So again, I think it is your Achilles heel like it is in many other parts of the country.
And I want to build on that because earlier you said that we are under-delivering on housing while we're performing so well. Overperforming on investment. And you've been working on this national housing supply or housing crisis task force. What are the best practices that you're seeing that you might pull out for us?
So in a prior life, I was chief of staff at HUD. I think I went back for 2 tours, which just shows you how masochistic I am. And 10 floors of basement is what Senator Schumer called the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So about 1.5 years ago, we set up a national housing crisis task force. Governor Spencer Cox of Utah, Republican, right? Andre Dickens, Atlanta, Democrat, mayor. Justin Bibb, Cleveland, Democrat. Fifth Third Bank, and about 24 folks, practitioners across party, across disciplines. Housing is not a partisan issue. It's a bipartisan phenomenon in this country. If you want to see places that are cracking it, go to Utah, go to Montana, solidly red, states. So here's what the task force is basically saying. At the end of the day, housing comes down to like 5 things, right? Land, unlocking land, particularly public assets, land and buildings, construction innovation. We're still building homes like it's like 100 years ago. We got to look to Sweden. We got to look to Japan. We got to create a modular industry in this country. We've got to use technology to innovate on housing. Capital. What's the capital stack? Particularly if the feds are going to scale back on a bunch of things, how much can we do at the local, regional, and state level between debt, equity, concessionary capital, et cetera? The really boring stuff, but at the end, pretty critical. Regulation, zoning, land use, building codes, permitting. Get it built fast. Stop the nonsense. Some places are going to oppose some of this, but frankly, these Western states, with less, radical population growth than the Southern states, are moving fairly fast to basically open themselves up for construction. And finally, governance. Both governance across disciplines. Housing is a pretty fragmented, area of our economy. You go into any city and you say, who's in charge of housing? And like 20 hands shoot up. In Atlanta, they created a strike force. Everyone that touches housing sits around a table. The mayor comes in on a regular basis. How are we doing towards our goal? 20,000 units over 8 years. I want to know on a month-to-month basis, are we making progress? And if not, who's holding us back, right? That's not a bad way to operate. Last piece, I'll just say, again, it gets back to capital. Opportunity zones. Opportunity zones was part of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. It will probably be extended and expanded in this tax bill. It can work for housing, like at scale, if it gets organized. The only place that has organized it so far is Alabama. They have a group called Opportunity Alabama. Alabama usually ranks 52 out of 50 on just about everything. Like everything. They're behind Canada as our 51st state, But on opportunity zones, they're in the top 10. Why? Because they realized early on that the wealth that needed to be invested in opportunity zones was in the state of Alabama, both their pension fund, but also a lot of wealthy individuals, corporations, utilities, and beyond. So they've organized the capital in the service of housing production in downtown Montgomery, downtown Selma, downtown Birmingham, et cetera, et cetera. This can be done. It really can be done. But the task force has basically said, land, construction, capital, regulation, governance, and here are the best ideas in the United States, and most importantly, here are the best ideas around the world. We're Americans, we can out-innovate anyone, right? Let's just do it on housing.
And I appreciate you digging in on this because that survey said 73% of the region said this was their top priority. The regional housing coalition that's being discussed, so many communities are digging into this. So you wrote a book, The New Localism, and you told us today to do this stress test, to lean in where the federal government's leaning out. We have a lot of local governments here of all different sizes who might be feeling a little overwhelmed. What can you do if you're a smaller community to really figure out how to navigate these times?
Yeah, look, the bottom line is everyone's going to be affected by this because this is not about, okay, we have found one part of the domestic economy to focus on, we've focused on one part of the federal budget. This is like across the board. So everyone, small towns, mid-sized municipalities, larger cities, counties, everyone's affected by this. And so the fact is, metropolitan planning organizations, which by the way, going back to Daniel Patrick Moynihan, was essentially his idea. He felt like we needed to organize ourselves at the metropolitan scale because that's the real unit of the economy. I think MORPC, along with your business and civic and university leadership, is a place for people to feel like they're part of a broader collective. And together, you can navigate through this. If everyone's on their own, if we divide and conquer, or allow the federal government to divide and conquer, this is going to be really messy. And by the way, it's going to hurt a lot of people in our, cities and metropolitan areas and regions who really don't have the wherewithal to get through this. I'm really worried about this because, when I go to urban hospitals and talk to them about Medicaid, or I go to nonprofits and talk about mental health, or I go to other providers and talk about homelessness, there's a lot of people out there that are really hurting in our society. And so I'm fearful about what happens to them across jurisdictions in cities, metropolitan neighborhoods and regions and all the rest. So if you could hold together, you don't have to agree on everything, you don't have to love each other, you know, getting back to The Godfather. You don't have to love each other. But if you could pull together, right, across party, across jurisdiction, across discipline, across sectors, across race, right, across ethnicity, you're likely to come out the other side of this so much stronger, so much more resilient. I mean, you know, in 2 or 3 years, we should be talking about the Columbus housing model. You know, that's the great thing about this country. All the problem solving tends to move bottom up, right, ground up in our country, because this is the network effect of public, private, and civic leaders working together. You can do this. You really can do this. But you really do need to hold together, because there's going to be a lot that divides us over the coming weeks, months, years. I think you have a special sauce here, and it is this collaborative spirit.
So I want to surf on that vibe and close with a positive note here, because first, everybody's finished their dessert, Bruce. Oh. So it's we got to get to this. But also, that survey said that this region is an optimistic place about its future. So as you're thinking about this region, what are we doing well that we should really lean into? Is there anything that you see that we should do more of?
Well, I think if you're going to, navigate all this, you're doing great. Industry, innovation, infrastructure. Think 2X. However good you're doing, it ain't enough from a tax revenue perspective, given what's coming. So think 2X on all that. I think Ohio State's already thinking like that. Incredible platform, along with other universities. But Achilles heel, housing. You don't solve that, you're going to send a signal to companies, to workers all over this country. Columbus doesn't really have its act together. You know, we'll go to Atlanta, you know, or we'll go somewhere else. The great thing about the U.S. is all this internal competition we have. I mean, it really helps us, you know, replenish and refresh on a constant basis. So you solve housing and some of these other questions like childcare, which was also on your list. You're going to become the place that really does grow and grow better.
Great. Well, this conversation has meant a lot to us. Bruce has a book, The New Localism. He's got a regular weekly e-newsletter, which is just brilliant and have been so insightful during these times. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Great job.
Yep.
Well, I just appreciate so much Bruce and his insights into how we all can rally together. So let's give him one more round of applause. This is. So now we want to move on to that part of our day where we're going to recognize regional leadership. And we're going to kick it off with MORPC's own Joe Garrity, our Senior Director of Government Affairs and Community Engagement, to get us started. So let's welcome Joe.
Thank you, William and Bruce, for that great discussion. And so in 1967, a young civil engineer named Bill Habig walked through the doors of MORPC, and Central Ohio was never the same. Just last year, I had the privilege of interviewing Bill, and I asked him, what was he most proud of in his 39 years of public service? You might expect him to mention a legacy-defining project like the Greater Columbus Convention Center, right next door, but that's not what he said. Bill told me it was seeing his former staff making a difference and witnessing the regional impact that MORPC has today. That's the mark of a true leader, someone whose influence transcends their time in service. His legacy is woven into the fabric of our region. Today's event is about celebrating Central Ohio's recent accomplishments and the work that remains. But it's also about honoring the visionaries who laid the groundwork for our success. And today, we have the honor of recognizing one of Central Ohio's living legends, Bill Habig. Bill, would you please stand? And let's give Bill a round of applause. Thank you for all of your service that you have done for Central Ohio and MORPC, Bill.
Bill Habig understood something powerful, that Central Ohio's future wouldn't be built in isolation. It would thrive when we worked together. For 39 years, 34 years as executive director, Bill brought people to the table, bridging city and suburb, public and private, to create a stronger, more connected region. His dedication continues to this day as he proudly represents Granville Township on MORPC's commission. In the 1970s, he led the effort to establish CODA, building the foundation for a transformative public transit system that keeps Central Ohio moving forward. He championed the creation of the Central Ohio Greenways, turning visions of connected rails and green spaces into reality. Bill's passion was unwavering, focused on how Central Ohio could grow better as it grew bigger. He sparked critical conversations about development, the environment, and transportation. From Rickenbacker's growth to highways, safety, and even passenger rail. His vision made our region stronger and continues to shape our work today. Because of his leadership, collaboration isn't just an idea in Central Ohio, it's a legacy. As we continue growing stronger together, we honor the man who helped build the thriving region we enjoy today.
Wow, what a career and what a legacy. Our deepest gratitude for Bill for his many years of dedicated public service and commitment to improve lives, build stronger connections among all of us in this region. I'm Michelle Crandall, City Manager for the City of Hilliard, and it's my honor to present this afternoon the William H. Anderson Board Service Award for Excellence in Public Service. This recognition is reserved for those whose dedication and vision have made a lasting impact on our region. I'm proud to announce that this year's award recipient is Thomas Homan, who served as the city manager for the city of Delaware for 25 years and served on the MORPC board throughout his service. Those of you that know Tom, like I do, know that he exemplified the highest standards in public service. His unwavering commitment and leadership have not only transformed the city of Delaware, but have also inspired us with his vision for shaping a growing future. So please join me in congratulating Tom and welcoming him to the stage to receive this well-deserved honor.
When I got to MORPC a decade ago, the first person to reach out to me was Tom Homan, and he's been a supporter and a partner ever since.
Our work together over the last 22 years has been wonderful, watching his vision of Delaware grow.
It's not normal for a city manager to be able to stay in one place for 25 years. That's one clear example of the staying power Tom had because of the impact he was having across the Delaware community.
Tom helped shape Delaware into a successful and vibrant city in Central Ohio.
He had a challenge in Delaware with the growth and the development that was occurring. It's probably grown in the range of about 80% over Tom's time in Delaware, and Tom took that on.
Tom was motivated because of his genuine love for Delaware. The one thing that stands out the most to me is Tom was at every single thing that went on in Delaware. He truly cares about his community, and it showed.
Just that Tom was always there, and Tom was always very willing to give his time and his thoughts.
Last year, we had a particularly difficult issue emerge that needed a committee. And when I asked around, everybody said, you gotta call Tom Homan. And I said, he's about to retire. I called him anyhow, and he said, William, I don't want you to worry about that. This is too important. When do we get started?
Tom makes decisions with the community's best interest at heart.
This award is about service to our board and our community. And
And I don't think there's a committee or working group that Tom hasn't served on. He's even been MORPC's board chair. His work with us, with the community, will resonate for years.
Good afternoon. My name is Lark Mallory, and I'm honored to stand before you today, not only as last year's recipient of the Regional Leadership Award, but also as someone deeply committed to our region's progress. Having experienced firsthand the significance of this recognition, it is a privilege to celebrate the visionary leadership that propels our communities forward. It is my pleasure to introduce a leader who has championed collaborative efforts that drive innovative solutions to enhance the quality of life for our communities. His leadership is the very essence of regional progress, and it is with great pride that we honor his contributions today. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Jeff Fix to the stage as he accepts the Regional Leadership Award.
Effective leadership requires vision, integrity, and the ability to unite people for the greater good. Commissioner Jeff Fix has exemplified these qualities throughout his career, particularly in tackling two of our region's most significant challenges, housing and zoning. Elected to the Fairfield County Commission in 2018, Commissioner Fix has played a key role in shaping the region's growth and future. Before this, he served on the Pickerington City Council, where he was dedicated to building resilient communities and developing long-term, practical solutions. As a commissioner, Jeff led the creation of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, a thoughtful approach to balancing the need for new housing with the preservation of the unique character of our communities. His work has been integral to ensuring that housing and zoning decisions are made carefully, promoting responsible growth that strengthens our communities and upholds our shared values. Commissioner Fix understands that solutions to complex issues like housing and zoning require collaboration at every level. That's why he facilitated over 30 community meetings, bringing together residents, local leaders, and businesses. By listening to all voices, he ensured that the region moved forward in a way that works for everyone. His leadership has shown that when we come together, we can find common ground and build stronger communities. Jeff's work is a perfect example of how regional collaboration, thoughtful planning, and commitment to unity help us grow stronger together, not just in Fairfield County, but across our entire region. Beyond his work in public service, he is a strong advocate for local businesses, policies that create jobs and improve quality of life for all. For his unwavering dedication to addressing housing and zoning challenges with integrity and foresight, and for his service to the people of Fairfield County and beyond, the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission is proud to present Commissioner Jeff Fix with the 2025 Regional Leadership Award. Congratulations, Commissioner Fix.
Congratulations, Commissioner Fix. Please welcome Congresswoman Beatty and Congressman Carey to the stage to award the winner of the Collaborative Achievement. Go Reynoldsburg Raiders.
First of all, let me just say good afternoon, and it's good to be here with my colleague. And it's a pleasure to join you at the MORPC's 2025 State of the Region. But first, let me just say to William Murdoch and the entire MORPC team, thank you for your visionary and strategic leadership throughout the year. And when I sit here and I think about the Godfather, Bruce Katz, you were right on target, and thank you for that. They have a whole message for me to give today, but I think so much of it has been said that I just want to say to you today that today's theme, growing stronger together, building a thriving region, is truly more than just a motto. It is our promise, it is our partnerships, and it is our path towards an inclusive future where everyone thrives, as long as we stay together, we fight together, we collaborate together, because we know we are in an unprecedented time. But look at this room, and it is everything that our guest speaker said. So give yourselves applause. And I am so proud to be a representative in Central Ohio, trying to do my part to contribute to our amazing growth. I think it's important for me to share that 6 of Ohio's 8 fastest growing counties are right here. By 2050, Central Ohio will have grown more than 715,000 people, with Franklin County alone reaching more than 1.6 million residents. And with growth comes opportunity. And with opportunity, it comes responsibility, which must include sustainable communities where everyone has the opportunities to grow. It must include a workforce ready for 21st century industries like biotechnology, advancing manufacturing, and clean energy. And it must mean investing in housing, we've heard that, and in transportation and infrastructure, that we connect individuals to jobs and to each other. And it means that we must boost our supply of affordable housing so everyone can make these growing communities their home. And we've made real progress, and thanks to regional partnerships and historic federal investments under the Biden administration. The successes we have seen in this past year didn't just happen by accident. They came from hard work. They came from teamwork. It came from collaboration and a real belief in this region's incredible potential. In MORPC, I cannot thank you enough for always being there for us. And let me just say, our successes came from bipartisanship. Bipartisanship, infrastructure law, the CHIPS and Science Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, giving us a strong foundation that this region has built on. And I can tell you, with the passage of the infrastructure law, I am thrilled how this investment will build on partnerships, how it will improve infrastructures. And we know that nearly $380 million in federal funding to upgrade our aging water system and to promote access, that every person in this community can have safe drinking water. And lastly, let me just say, the $42 million federal grant secured through the Link Us initiative was just amazing. And I know, because Bill and I sat with other leaders in this region to make sure that we could reconnect and that we could have a community pilot project that will transform the West Broad Street corridor. And we know that it will connect some 95,000 jobs by 2040. And it will attract affordable housing and connect our historically underserved neighborhoods, like the Linden Green Line, that will transform 7 miles of abandoned rail into a vibrant community space. Like the $12 million federal grant, which I proudly championed alongside our Transportation Undersecretary Trottenberg. We toured with community leaders this region with projects promoting economic development and collaboration among families, schools, universities, and local businesses. Because of our working together, we have that passenger train service, which is in reach. By 2030, I believe Columbus could be connected to rail. You've talked about Dayton a lot, Dayton and Cleveland and Cincinnati. And let's just say we're going to try to go all the way to Chicago and Pittsburgh. And wouldn't that just be great? This will boost service. This will bring real economic activity and regional travel. And the best is yet to come. Intel's historic multi-billion-dollar investment made possible by the CHIPS Act will add thousands of construction jobs. It will create thousands of 21st century jobs. And this investment isn't just economic, it's generational. It's empowering underserved communities, strengthening Ohio's position in STEM fields, and adding Ohio's Silicon heartland to the national tech landscape. So much of this is possible because of the Columbus Partnership's War Room, which helped deliver $116 million in federal grants in 2024. And I am so proud that we are here to honor the Columbus Partnership with the William C. Habig Collaborative Achievement Award, a testament to the power of strategic collaboration. And this award not only celebrates their outstanding achievement as the partnership, but it unites us. It builds unity around a shared vision with public officials, with community partners, and the remarkable things that we have made happen. And I challenge us to continue to make those things happen while we remain with an uncertain political and economic environment. Central Ohio has always risen to the moment, and I am confident if we work together, we will get through what's happening to us, and we will fight to continue to have federal funds not cut and come back into our communities. Thank you so much.
You know, I one time asked Congressman Steve Stivers, I said, what was the hardest thing about being in Congress? And he said it was always when I had to follow Joyce Beatty giving a speech. Well, listen, good afternoon, everyone. I am Mike Carey, Congressman. It's truly an honor to be here today with Congressman Beatty. As many of you know, Joyce and I have become very good friends, and it's something that I think people in Central Ohio don't realize how closely we do work together. And it's an honor to be on stage with you today, Joyce. So I've always believed that the strength of Central Ohio lies in the ability to work together. And when we stack our hands and we collaborate across the sectors of our communities, we create new opportunities and attract resources and build a more prosperous future for our region. That's why recognizing the power of partnership is so important, and it is my distinct honor to present the William C. Habig Collaborative Achievement Award, an award that represents the excellence in building partnerships, driving innovation, and sharing resources to uplift our community. This year's award goes to the Central Ohio War Room Collaborative, a remarkable effort incubated by One Columbus and the Columbus Partnership, in partnership with dozens of stakeholders. The War Room has played a pivotal role in driving strategic investment into growing our region, and the results, well, they speak for themselves. We've seen the War Room impact firsthand. We've secured funding for major priorities like Link Us, helped secure planning dollars for passenger rail, and made strategic infrastructure investments around Rickenbacker. These investments that will create thousands of jobs and lay the groundwork for long-term economic growth. And the best part, well, the work is just getting started. And it's not often that you see this level of collaboration and strategic execution, and that's why this recognition is so well-deserved. So, please join me in presenting this award to my dear friend Kenny McDonald and Jeff Polozowski and Ann Quillo. And I got all those names right.
The War Room started with a fairly obvious idea that there was $1.5 trillion at a federal level for local and state organizations to compete for. We wanted to be the best organized of anybody in the country. The War Room has accomplished all kinds of things. First and foremost, it's another way our region has come together. Anytime we have multi-county cities in a room talking about priorities and opportunities, that's a good thing. We've had some real success upon organizing. Broad Street Corridor, our hand in the CHIPS Act, bringing money to various parts of our region through competitive grants. Every geographic area, every neighborhood of our region needs to be represented when we submit these grants. We can form partnerships within our own region and then with other regions of the state to go after some of these dollars. That's incredibly important. It's also helped to prepare us for the future. Things change, and I think that this effort will have to evolve and change as well. We absolutely want to be making sure that we're always at the table in Washington when there are competitive opportunities to bring dollars to our cities and our counties. To do that, we're going to have to stay at the table with each other and remain engaged with each other and collaborate like we always do. We've also got to build on and maybe double down on the Columbus Way. And another way to say that is the theme of this event, growing stronger together. We really believe that's appropriate way to talk about the War Room effort. Every time we come together and we stack hands, we advance this region, the communities within it, and more importantly, the residents of this community win and have greater opportunity because of it.
Friends at One Columbus and the Columbus Partnership. We've been proud partners of this effort. It's made a real difference in communities all across the region. So let's give them one more round of applause. And if you are a MORPC board member, you know we always finish our board meetings on time, and this meeting is no exception. Before you leave, I want you to remember, take the information you've learned today from Bruce, from the survey, from these awards, and let it carry you through, inspire you, feel empowered to work more on housing and transportation and do some big and bold things. Second, we'd really love you to support getting young people and young talent into communities. So we're going to put that QR code back up. Let's help place more students around Central Ohio. And third, it's a beautiful day outside. We appreciate your support. We appreciate the support of our sponsors. We are so honored to work with you in Central Ohio. We are adjourned. Enjoy your Friday afternoon. Thanks, everybody.